Time has come to do the rear ball joints on this Mercedes ML500, the upper and lower ball joints. I've been talking about this for about a year now, and time has come. So we're going to talk about parts, part numbers, prices, tooling, and techniques, and how to get all this done and what it takes to make it happen. So let's jump right in. Okay, as far as parts goes, I went again with the Limforder ball joints for the rear. They're both the same part number. And the part number 4 is 163 350 0113 times 2. So that's about, you're looking at $100 with taxes for the rear lower ball joints. Whereas for the upper ball joints, which is also the control arm, I went this time with Dorman, and that's it right there. They're about 80 bucks a piece. You're looking at $160 in upper ball joints / control arms. And the part number is one is odd and one is even. The odd number is going to left, the even number is going to right. RB-520-947 is the left side, and the RB-520-948 is the right side. That being said, these are the prices 2025. Figure if you go and order them like I did through Auto House AZ, and then there'll be, taxes and shipping charges and whatnot that in order to get these parts. Now that we talked about parts, let's talk about some tooling and what it takes to make this happen. As far as tooling goes, it is the usual suspects. You're gonna need these are miscellaneous things right here. You're looking at the usual 10mm screwdriver / 1/4" drive socket, which usually what I use to remove the liner. And this time I'm going to show you actually how to remove it, because there was one guy that asked me to show him, or her, I can't recall who it was, how to remove the liner inside of the rear tires. 19mm mirror, you're going to need a mirror. 13mm adjustable wrench. 8mm, 13mm, this foot to remove to disconnect the upper rear strut, and you'll see why that will be necessary for the removal of the upper control arm. Actually, I can show you right now. I don't know if you let me get a light so you can actually see. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Just like the front, upper control arm, the rear upper control arms, as you can see, the bolts travel from inboard going outboard, and therefore the strut will have to come out in order to remove the upper control arm. That's why we have to disconnect the strut from the top. Okay, we talked about 22, 21mm, 18, also 21. Safety wires, that's because I do some safety wire work on the car. 5mm Allen key, this will be for the rotor. Screwdriver, sledgehammers, brass punch, levers, and items to hook up the calipers and whatnot, because the caliper will have to come off. We don't have to fully disconnect the knuckle in order to get the upper and lower ball joints done. However, the rear disc is also a drum for the park brake. And since I did the other side already, and I'm going to show it to you right now, let's go around. The park brake, I got to tell you, it is a bit of a pain to take apart, remove, and put back together. So I actually managed to get the job done without disconnecting the park brake. However, because the knuckle with the rotor and the caliper is rather heavy, I disconnected the rotor and I disconnected the caliper so that it's easier to manage moving the knuckle aside in order to disconnect the upper and the lower ball joints and control arms and so on and so forth. It's possible. It was an interesting job. It was an interesting job, and I actually enjoyed it very much. And I'm going to show you all the tips and tricks and technique, not only the technique, but the sequence of events and how this job unfolds. Let's get back to the tooling. The other tools you're going to need for this job, impact. I use an impact. You're going to need some 36mm sockets for the axle nuts, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch drive sockets, metric obviously, 1/4 inch drive torque wrench. This is my 40-inch 3/4 driver breaker bar. This thing is a beast. I love it. Good for 1,300 foot-pounds. The design on it is majestic. You'll see the head wraps around the bar rather than the bar around the head, and this thing is amazing. Half-inch drive torque wrench, 3/8 drive torque wrench, and we're looking at all kinds of extensions: 17, 21, 22, 36. 3/8, 1/4-inch, half-inch drive breaker bars, adapters, E10 sockets. There's all kinds of stuff right here we're gonna need to make this job happen. Specialty tools, really, it's this one here. This is for the install of the lower ball joint, and I'll leave all the links in the description for what kind of tooling and where I got it and whatnot. Oh, and for this right here. These are my recent acquisition with this right here is an NACO 3/4 drive torque adapter. Then it goes from 140 to 730 something foot-pounds, and combined with the 40-inch breaker bar makes it for a phenomenal torque wrench for under $200. So now you know the tooling, basic tooling, sledgehammer. You're gonna need a crowbar. You're gonna need a bar as well. Now you know the tooling. It's gonna be pretty involving getting this job done here. You know the prices, you know the parts, and I gotta tell you, they're very shiny. They look beautiful. Look at this. Look at this ball joint. It's different from the front one. The rear ball joint has this washer, if you will. It's a little different from the front lower ball joint. Then you have your control arm. It's made of aluminum, rather light. And this one, actually, unlike the front one, the doorman gives you a nut, whereas Phoebe from Bilstein did not give me a nut. That was disappointing. Now, you say to me, why are you doing these upper and lower control ball joints? Well, let me show you. The upper ball joint, the boot was split. Can you see it? And it's been split for about a year. Even though there's not a whole lot of movement and it's still solid, mechanically speaking, it's been leaking grease, and it's been a pain, really. And once it starts leaking grease, it's time to replace it. Now, the lower ball joint in the front, same as the rear, it's been suffering from a condition. I don't know. Well, let me see if I can show it to you. Let me prop you up on a stand. Maybe I can show you with one hand. There is a vertical play when this thing should have no play at all. Even though the boot of the ball joint is still good, there's this vertical play, and it induces a vibration, and I don't like that. And I gotta tell you, ever since I've been replacing all the components in the suspension, be it shocks, our upper and lower control arms, ball joints, track link in the back, and inner and outer tie rods in the front, and new tires, this thing rides like it is brand new, let me tell you. But anyway, that being said, let's get started with making this job happen. Okay, we'll see how far we can get tonight with this assembly of the left side, and I left the harder side, the left side, for you guys, for you to see, because the right side is the easy side, but the left side, because the filler hose for the tank is in the way for the left steer. I'm going to show you how to mitigate that. So I figured, let me show you the left side instead of the right side, because the right side is the easy one. That's why I'm making a video for the left instead of the right. Now, it is nighttime already on a Saturday evening, and I gotta tell you, I'm already wearing a beanie. There's snow in the mountains. It's getting cold quick. It's already dark out. I actually had to close the garage door because man, it's I was saying to myself, I can't believe how cold it is already. I can't believe how cold it is already. So anyway, so yeah, and besides, the wife is at work, and the daughter is not feeling well. She was actually a little sick today, so I'm having to go inside the house a lot to cater to her and help her out, make sure she's fine. And so that's why the right side took a little longer than I had anticipated. That's all right. So this is how you take this rear, hopefully you can see it. This is how you take it off. kind of peel it back like this. See it? It wasn't as hard on the other side, I promise you. Let's see if this is stuck in here. There it is. There we go. That's how this comes off. So now that we got the fender liner removed, we can worry about. Let's worry about the next thing. What I want to do next is actually create some access. Ah, the wife is here. Hold on. I'm gonna have to let you go for a second. I am not exactly sure what happened here while I was resuming work, and my wife came home and I must have bumped the camera and the microphone came disconnected. So I'm just gonna verbally tell you what was going on over here. The next thing we're gonna do in this particular section of the video is we're gonna remove the rear stabilizer link rod. You'll see that where the cracked bushing is, there's a rod going through that all the way to the top of the stabilizer bar, and it has two 13 millimeter nuts on top. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put the ratchet on the bottom, and I was attempting to do this particular disassembly by using a wrench on top, but then I realized, okay, this is silly. Why am I even using a 13 millimeter wrench with a ratchet on the bottom when I have the tooling for doing this that is a lot faster? So here, sure, you're going to see that I'm going to reach for my my impact and to remove the upper 13 millimeter nut. Now at the very top of this link rod, there are two 13 millimeter nuts, and they're somewhat locked together. So you remove the first 13 millimeter nut, as I was doing with the wrench, and then you remove the bottom, and you'll see you remove the bottom, and you'll see here me grabbing the impact and saying to myself, what in the world am I doing? Why am I not grabbing the impact when I have an impact with a 13 millimeter socket? Here we go. The top nut, the jam nut, the locking nut comes right off. And then right on top, right after that, I am gonna hold the stabilizer link rod with a socket on the bottom with the ratchet and remove the top nut, other 13 millimeter that comes with a washer attached to it. Now, keep in mind here, I don't know what brand this was, but this thing, I can't believe that less than a year, that bottom bushing already cracked. Ironically, the same thing did not happen on the other side. You'll see me pulling the rod out here, and make sure you pay attention to the stacking of the bushings, the stacking of the washers, and the stacking of that tube that is in between the stabilizer bar and the lower control arm. Now here on after, the next thing we're going to be doing here, once I reassemble this stabilizer link rod with all the hardware, and you're going to want to do this especially if you are working as I was working in this particular situation where I have tools everywhere on the floor. I'm not at a point where I have a lift yet, so I'm essentially working on my knees, on my butt, and what you're going to want to do is reassemble all your hardware and keep it stacked all together so nothing gets lost. So once that link rod got put away with all the hardware assembled together, we're going to move on to next, as you'll see here, the harness that connects to the top of the knuckle. There's going to be an E10 socket and there's going to be a 10 millimeter socket. They're both the same pitch and thread with the same shank size. So what you see me doing here is removing the top 10 millimeter bolt. Now keep in mind what hardware goes where. The top is a 10 millimeter bolt, and the bottom is the E10 socket that goes to the star-like bolt, and that holds the wheel speed sensor, which connects to the ABS system. So what I'm doing here is I'm disconnecting the two the two bolts, and then I'm going to move the harness aside so that when the time comes to disconnect the caliper, everything stays bundled together so that you don't want to put any tension on any wiring. You don't want to put any tension on any. You don't want to break anything. So pay attention, take your time, take it easy, and whatchamacallit, just take your time. Originally, I thought it was a good idea to put the bolt back into the holes, but I said, nah, God forbid I knock these and shear the bolts. I definitely don't need that. So now that we're done with that, the next thing we're going to do, and I believe I'm going to be talking about doing the removal of the caliper. Okay, the next thing you'll see here is the removal of the rear caliper. You grab, however you want to do this, you either can grab a ratchet, a wrench, or if in this case I'm using a breaker bar with, I believe it was a 19 millimeter or an 18 millimeter socket. And what you do, you loosen up the two bolts that connect the caliper to the knuckle. And you remove those two bolts, and you remove the whole caliper assembly, and you put it aside. Now you'll notice that on the left bottom of the screen I put an orange bucket over there. But then while I was indecisive about all this, I started out with putting everything in a bucket. Then I realized that at some point I was gonna need that space, so I ended up hanging the caliper on some at a hole that was at the top of in the fender well. But then funny thing is I kept going back and forth, back and forth. The one time I would put it on a bucket, then I would take it off the bucket and rehang it again. And I guess it all depends on what you need to do and when you need to do it. So be flexible. Don't be too rigid on how you're going to do this. So here we are. So the caliper comes off as a unit. Be super careful. By the way, don't let anybody go in the car and step on the brakes. The last thing you need is for somebody to step on the brakes and they press the pistons, and definitely don't want to get into that incident. Anyway, after that being said, now that the caliper is disconnected, we can move on to the next thing. As you can see here, as I was saying, first I put it down, then I ended up hanging it up. But anyway, this is the extent of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it when it comes to removal of the caliper. And next thing we're going to move on to, I believe it's the rotor. So let's do that. Again, sorry guys that you're having to hear me talk about what I did, but it's only for another clip or so. And then I realized by then that the microphone had come disconnected, and it's we'll resume the regular recording. Over here, in this video I'm going to show you how to remove the rotor, how to remove the track rod, and we're going to also undo the nut for the axle. Now I just showed you a 5 millimeter Allen key. So what you do, there's an Allen screw that keeps the rotor in place against the axle, and on the inside, in the case of the rear rotor, the back, not only is it a rotor for the brakes, but it's also a drum for the park brake. Now, there might be cases where that park brake is so tough for you to pull the rotor off that you might have to loosen up the little adjustment barrel for you to be able to pull the rotor off. Next thing I'm going to remove is that track rod. The track rod, being that the ML500 W163 has a double wishbone independent suspension. In the front wheels, you have inner and outer tie rods, and that helps you with the steering. In the back, you have a track rod, and what that does, it keeps the rear wheels tracking straight for the design of the suspension. As you can see, I'm doing it with the hand here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a 22 millimeter, I believe it's a 22 millimeter socket, and I'm going to put it on the impact wrench, and I'm just going to take that nut off. So once I remove the nut, as you're about to see, now I do have a special tool for how to remove ball joints, so in this particular case, rods from the knuckle. But I have used this particular tool in the past, and especially with old components. The rubber is somewhat brittle, And what ended up happening is that this particular tool ended up piercing the boot end, which induced the replacement of this, in this case, the track rod. I had to replace the track rod because that particular tool broke. So what I started doing since then, although I still have the tool and I use it occasionally, depending on if the component is damaged already or if it's a delicate situation. But since then, I started using the hammer. And what I'll do is I'll tap with the hammer right against where the track rod connects, not on a track rod, but on a knuckle. And what it'll do, it will release the pin of the track rod from the knuckle. So you'll hit it, and around. Don't go crazy hitting it hard. As you can see it, I'm tapping it, but it's also a relatively heavy sledgehammer, if you will. And what that'll do, it will eventually release the track rod. We're almost there. We're almost there, and excuse me, we're almost there. Almost there. I had to tap this several times because unlike a ball joint that it's under tension, where it'll just pop out, this track rod, it just keeps the rear wheel straight. So you still have to, I'll have to tap it here a couple of more times, but eventually that pin from the track rod will come out of the knuckle. So be a little patient. I have no idea what I was talking about over here. I forgot what I was saying. But it should be releasing shortly here. There it is. You see it? The track rod moved, and now it's released from the knuckle. It won't come out unless you you load the suspension, and you'll see me do that later. Now, after we released the track rod from the knuckle, the next thing we're going to do here is actually grab the impact, and with a 36 millimeter socket, I am, me, myself, and I guess that's who we is. I'm going to undo the nut of the rear knuckle, or that holds the axle inside of the wheel bearing. So you'll see me here grab the 30 millimeter half-inch drive impact socket, and I'll put here it is, my trusty impact. As always, guys, I do recommend you get yourself one of those. And the next thing I'm going to do, actually, excuse me, I'm going to buy some ratchet wrenches, because I find myself, in order to expedite work, ratchet wrenches would definitely make the life a lot easier. You'll see me here that what I'm doing with a brass punch, not a steel punch, a brass punch, there's a softer metal than the steel of the axle. I'm going to hit the axle just to loosen up, or dislodge, if you will, the axle from the inside wheel bearing, so that when the time comes to remove the upper the upper ball joint, that is essentially the control arm, excuse me, that axle will be ready to release from the hub. All right, my friend, last piece of the puzzle before I resume the original type of recording that I was doing. Right after this video here is when I realized that the microphone had come disconnected from the camera, hence the reason why you've been listening to all this sound. And again, I am so sorry for that. Next thing we're going to do is disconnect the upper ball joint from the knuckle. For some reason, it's not as tight as the lower ball joint. And so what I do, I broke the torque off of it with, I think it's either 18 or 19 millimeter wrench. But the pin of the ball joint, which is an 8 millimeter size, started spinning off. So what you see me doing now is holding the bottom of the pin of the ball joint with an 8 millimeter wrench, and at the same time remove the nut from the upper ball joint. This is where I thought to myself, you know, I could have really used a ratchet wrench to expedite getting this job done faster. But, you know, oftentimes you do what you can with what you got in order to make it happen. So anyway, after this, we resume the regular recording, and thank you for your patience. All right, my friend, I'm going to call it a night. The wife just told me dinner is ready. We'll pick it up again tomorrow morning. See you tomorrow. We are back at it again. Let's go ahead and finish this job in the rear, upper, and lower ball joints of this car. Let me show you what's up. As you can see, we took the rotor off. We disconnected the tracking rod, and it's loose right now. The bolt is also off. We took the caliper. We took the rotor. We dislodged the upper ball joint. You see it. It's loose. I can't quite see it. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're almost at the final phase of starting to remove these ball joints. Next thing we're going to do is disconnect the strut from the top, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do it. There's going to be 3 13mm nuts, but we're going to do it from here. You'll notice that I took already the spare tire out, and what I did, let me show you. I created a tunnel to work with, because we're going to access right from on top of the fuel tank right there. But what you see I did is I pulled the tray out that hosts the spare tire, and I zip tied it so that I can actually scoot in from under. So I'm going to prop you up, and we are going to undo those 13mm nuts on top of the strut. But before we do that, though, there's a cap we need to remove, so let's do that first. On top of the strut here, there is this cap that covers the 3 nuts, so we should be able to access it from under here, and it should be pretty easy to take off. And all that does is cover the 3 nuts, and to avoid any dirt and mud and dust, and obviously rust as well from taking place. I think we got it loose, and here it is. We can now go ahead and loosen these 3 nuts. All right. The tools I'm going to try to use, being that's a tighter space, there's a 13mm swivel wrench that looks like this. I'm also going to try with a regular 13mm wrench. And if I'm not mistaken, last year when I did the shocks, I used, let me see if I can find it, it's right here somewhere, a 13mm, but it was 3/8 drive with a breaker bar. These 3 tools should suffice for the loosening up of the 3 nuts. So let me see if what I could get done from here. In the meantime, I'm in a bit of a hurry because I stopped working rather late last night. I got tired, and a little disappointed too with this whole microphone thing that came disconnected. Okay, the little wrench is working. I got a little frustrated with the microphone not being fully connected, and it did not help the cause of getting this job done at a reasonable time. What are you gonna do? It's part of the job, I guess. I will do a voiceover so that you guys don't miss out on anything. Now, to give you an idea of how important that cap is, and I'm also lucky that where I live, there is no rust out here, really, or there's not an environment that induces rust. Look at this. Within a minute, I was able to take one of the nuts off. Now let's go ahead. Let's see if I could do the other 2 as well. Now these, the torque is relatively low on these. All they serve is to, all they do is keep the strut from falling out. I think the torque on these is only 15 foot-pounds or 180 inch-pounds. Okay. That tunnel, though, will come in handy, though, when the time comes to torque these upper nuts. And you'll see it. There's a video that I made about the replacement of these rear shocks, and I go into detail on how the shock were replaced and how I did it from the top of the hose. So I'll try to remember and put a link in the description section so that if you wanted to see it, or you could just go to the page and click on it, however you want to do it. Okay, this nut is also loose. That went pretty quick. Uh-oh, just don't do what I just did. I dropped the nut. Son of a gun. Oh, I found it. And it's in between. Ay, that hurts. It's on top of the frame. All right, I managed to recover the second nut. Now we're on to the third and final nut. What I'm going to try to do, since it's the forward one inboard, I'm going to use the regular wrench first, see if I can loosen it, and then I'll remove it with the little ratchet wrench, which comes out really handy. You know, the reason why as I already mentioned at the beginning of the video, the reason why I'm doing all this is because that strut here has to come down in order to free the path for these upper control arm, because the bolts, they come in. I don't know if you can see it. These bolts here, in order for this control arm to come out, has to move inwards. And it's also where the adjustment takes place. And if the nuts were on the inside, we couldn't make the adjustment as required here. All right, so we got the little wrench on top of the third nut as well. We are moving. So the next thing we're gonna do after this, I'm gonna show you, instead of talking about it, I'm gonna show you. I have, although I did the job on the right side first without filming it, and so doing, I worked on a technique to facilitate and to actually get this job done as efficient and as fast as possible. And I was actually thinking about it last night, and we will see if it works. All right, the third and final nut is removed. We can now go ahead and lower. Let me show you here. We're going to need to lower the suspension for a couple of reasons here. First of all, we're going to load the suspension so I can free this tracking arm from the knuckle so that it can rotate. And then we're going to lower the suspension so that we should be able to free the upper ball joint. And what I want to do also is, see these two bolts right here, 1 and 2. I'm just going to loosen these, and this should pivot freely. Right now, it's the suspension is loaded, and it's locked in place in its resting position, which is when it's weight on wheels. So right now, the lower control arm is spring loaded upwards. So that being said, first thing we're going to do, we're going to put a jack under here, under where the shock mounts. We're going to lift up, load the suspension, and free the control arm. So let's do that. Let me prep you for that, and let's make this happen. Okay, we're going to lift up the suspension from where the strut mounts to the lower control arm. We should be able to load the suspension just enough to release the tracking rod. And here it is, finally. Guys, be careful when you mess around with the jack and suspension, because right now the car is off the jack. I am going to lower back down on the jacks. Nice and easy. Like so. We are back on the jack stands. I'm going to leave the jack in place though, because now we're going to lose, like I said, these two bolts for the lower control arm, and that should help us with the lowering of this knuckle and the lower suspension to free the upper ball joint. Let's do that. Okay, it's time to loosen the lower control arm to the frame. This is a 21 millimeter setup, and I could use my impact, I guess, but all right. It's only 100 foot-pounds. No big deal. All right. Okay, we are loose. We're going to loosen the other one as well. And this should greatly help with the Interesting. This was a loose. I wonder if the kid loosened it up when I went to go take it in for a wheel alignment, and he just ended up loosening up the wrong hardware, because when I did the front upper and lower ball joints on this car this time last week, I took it in for a wheel alignment, and the kid loosened it up. I mean, the kid, well, first of all, the bolts weren't even torqued all the way. That's besides the point. I wonder if he knew what he was doing. I'm not going to say the name of the shop. They're new in town, and I want to give them a fair shot at the title. All right, so this is loose. Let's see if lowering the jack theoretically should lower the suspension to help with the Quest. Yeah, here it is. It sure is. And the lower ball joint is loose. Look at that. All right. Look at that. We can now. Good. Let me show you what we got going on here. This is what we have going on. We have loosened the upper strut right there. You see it? We could lower this further. But right now, my objective was to free the upper ball joint and open up the pathway. See it? To take this 21 millimeter nut loose, which is what we're going to do next. And once that happens, we will be able to knock out the lower ball joint. I'm going to show you how this is going to get done. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. If I remember correctly, last time I was doing this job, I had some trouble with this very lower ball joint, where the inside, where the new ball joint has an Allen, the old one has a E-type. And let me tell you, that was, hopefully that was a pain getting out and torqued. Hopefully I don't run into that problem today. So we're going to be super gentle. Hopefully this comes undone without spinning. Let's take a look. We broke torque. And we are not lucky. The lower the lower axle is spinning, so we're gonna have to use an E30 something. Let me see if I remember correct. Here it is. It's gonna be an T45. T45 should hold it in place enough to remove the nut. Let's go ahead and try that. I actually ran into this very issue on the other side, but the other side it wasn't as mangled, if you will, as this side here. This side here looks like it's pretty mangled. All right, let's put a wrench in there. So nice and easy. We're gonna torque it. All right, it's coming, nice and easy. Hopefully, All right, guys. Well, this is the objective right now, so I'm gonna be doing this. All right, let's go ahead and let me try to get this done, guys. All right, this is the challenge now, so that you know what's going on. You'll notice that I left the park brake cable attached, and the whole park brake shoes and all that assembled. Because I got to tell you, that's a pain just to deal with all that. What I did do is punch out with a brass. Because remember I loosened up the nut in the beginning of this video with a brass punch and a hammer. I punched out the drive shaft, and I'm just hanging it. I'm having to hang with a bungee cord out of the way. This is where the issue is. The inside of this ball joint is spinning. It's at T45, if I'm not mistaken, but this thing is spinning. See, it's a T45. So what I'm going to try to do is actually I'm going to hold the inside of that, and with a 21 millimeter wrench, loosen it up. This is probably going to take a while, hopefully not too long, but I don't think you need to be watching this because it might take a long time. But I'll let you know, obviously, when I'm done, how it turned out. And I thought that a clamp and something more mundane was going to address this issue, but I guess it will have to be a different solution. I'm going to have to have at it like I've done it in the past with a saw. I'm going to saw this down. I'm going to go down this way, and hopefully I'll be able to split the nut, and the ball joint will drop, and we can continue the quest. It's an unfortunate thing, but I mean, it is what it is. That's what I have to do to make this happen. Considering it's a Sunday, everybody's closed, and resources are limited. So let's go ahead and have at it with the saw. We'll see how long it takes, and I'll let you know. Let's make it happen. I am just about done with the cutting with the saw, but I wanted you to see the last of this. And mind you, I've only been into this cutting for about 15-20 minutes or so, something like that. But I wanted you to witness it because I wanted to show you something. We should be just about there. I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to wipe this down. And let's see if this did it. This should have done it. Let's see if you can see this. Let's see, did it split it yet? Not yet. There it is. It's not even a 21 millimeter anymore. There it is, guys. It's done. See, the reason why I wanted you to see this, because this, my friend, is what determination looks like. This is with persistency, consistency, making it happen no matter what, by any means necessary, looks like. Because when on a Sunday, when resources are limited, and you still got to make it happen, this is what you have to do. You resort to whatever it is you have. A little patient, you step away from the problem, and you figure out what you got and how you can make it happen. Now we could continue with the quest. Let's pop this ball joint out, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do this next. Okay, as you can see, let me get this out of the way. As you can see, the rear knuckle or yoke assembly, it's on a bucket right now because the park brake is still connected. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop out the old ball joints like so. There we go. And the old ball the old ball joint is out, my friend. It is out. So what we do now is with a metal brush, we clean the contact surfaces, we clean all the bores, and now we can start installing the new assembly. All right. Metal brush, where are you? Here it is. The one I use, it's a brass one because well, that's the one I have. But you can ideally use it. You could use any brush. Okay. go ahead and clean inside the surface of where the bearing is also, because I mean, mine is dirty, so I'm going to go ahead and pass a brush in there as well. It looks mighty rusty. Not really that rusty, but rusty enough anyway. And then we'll just spray some air. Not with not that kind of air, but all right. Now, mind you, the plastic inside of the cables is, I don't know if you can see it. Here, let me show you. You'll notice the plastic inside of the cable here is broken up. This happened the last time I had to remove this, which was when I did the wheel bearings. So these will eventually be replaced, because there is no tool to help you push out this cable from the inside, from behind the park brake shoes in order to disconnect this. So you literally have to break this plastic every time. Now, that being said, this park brake cable and shoes are 20-something years old, 21 years old. So look for a video where I'm going to replace these two park brake cables, and at the same time I'll replace the park brake shoes, and I'll show you how to set the park brake cable and all of that. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to clean the inside of this, and I'm going to clean all the surfaces, and then we're going to introduce a new ball joint, and I'm going to show you how to do this. All right, here we go. We cleaned the inside surface. I don't know if you can see. Let me turn some light on. There you go. Clean the inside surface of here. We blew it with some air too. We cleaned the surface inside of this hole right here, and we're going to start installing the lower ball joint. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of this lubricating NIC's compound on the contact surface of the ball joint right here. You know, last night when I called it a day, I went online, as I always do, and to check on check on his channel, see how things are going. And there was some guy that has suggested I should put the ball joint in a freezer and then put this on a blowtorch. I mean, I agree with all that, but sometimes, you know, you just have to do what you can with what you got, and I don't want to get into all of that with a blowtorch or whatnot. Now, you'll see that this pin is somewhat gets in the way. Let me see if I can... See, I tried introducing the ball joint. Well, maybe it will go in without the... I don't know. I tried introducing the ball joint without the dry shaft. I don't have much success with that, so this is why I'm doing it with the... let me see. I was able to do it on the other side. I should get it started just enough. I should get it started. There it is. Should be able to... There it is. And I could start sucking it in with that special socket here. This one right here. This socket here is by... I forget. I'll leave a link. Hold on, let me change my glasses, because my wiser years, my sight is better with tooling rather than on its own. This right here is a tool by, couldn't tell you, but it's MBB2136 is the part number of this tool. I got it off of eBay. I'll leave you a link in the description. Let's see if I can torque this down a little bit with the ratchet. So this way we could get at least to get it started so it doesn't fall out on us. Okay. Okay, this should be enough, and then we'll continue the cinching once we reassemble the knuckle on the dry shaft, and now we can cinch it from the bottom, and I'll show you how. I'm going to put some of this stuff right here on the spline of the dry shaft, and like so. Will facilitate the removal the next time this comes out. Okay. This is why I needed to remove the rotor and the whatchamacallit and the caliper. Otherwise, this thing would have been so heavy to handle. It would have been ridiculous. So now I have the ball joint in. And where did I put the nut? Oh, here it is. There you go. All right. So now what we could do is we could tighten the upper nut, and it's the inside is a 7mm Allen, and then we can go ahead and cinch this ball joint down in the meantime with a wrench and suck it up. Now that we have the ball joint cinched to the lower control arm while holding it with the 7mm Allen key, we can finally torque this baby. And the torque for, let me see, ball joint to lower control arm, the torque right here, this is going to be 63 foot-pounds. As always, guys, make sure your stuff is calibrated. Still rotating. Hold on, we're going to have to cinch this a little bit more. This dry shaft is consistently in the way today, I'll tell you. Let me see. Get this. Okay. Let's cinch this baby a little bit more. It's looking like it's needed a little bit more tightened down before it'll take a let's try now. It's torqued, even though it's spinning a little bit. It's because of that washer on the bottom. That's why this thing spins. I should take it now. I mean, it took the torque, so I'm not worried. There we go. This is torqued. We can now connect the dry shaft into the bearing and reconnect the track rod inside of the the name is slipping this morning. I don't know why. Into the knuckle, so that we could it'll help with the reassembly of everything. Okay. We can now free this dry shaft from its coat hanger. Okay, the dry shaft is through the bearing, and what we're going to do is we're going to put the nut on it to hold it in place so it doesn't get away from us. And so we can now actually reconnect the track rod, and it'll help us with keeping this thing without moving too much on us. Where are you? There we go. Okay, now we can lower the shock and clear the upper bolts. Maybe the track rod is in the way after all, so I'm gonna have to re-disconnect it. Let me go ahead and I forget how the sequence of events is because I did this yesterday. By the way, be careful when you lift up your suspension, your shock, you don't press out the pins out of the shock. Ask me how I know how to deal with that yesterday. All right, guys. I can't see anything. There it is. My fingers. Oh man. Oh, I gotta take a break, guys. I'm gonna take a break. I am sorry, buddy. I had to walk away for a second. I was getting frustrated. Plus my knees. I've been on my knees for 2 days now working on this project. I did the right side, but this left side is I mean, it is what it is. We're getting it done. Now I can't find my glasses. Where did I put them at? Hold on. Oh, they're on my they're on my head. Okay. Now what I did is I ended up relowering the shock. It's aligned in here. The track rod is in, and so is the upper ball joint. The reason for all that because I want to finish this bottom ball joint, and we need to cinch it down and torque it down. And the torque on that is a 221 foot-pounds. But before we do that, let's go ahead and cinch it down the best we can. And then we'll just torque it and be done with the bottom. And then we can move on to doing what it takes to do the top. I'm just gonna suck this ball joint down. I know it could have been soaked in the cryogenic. It could have been soaked in ice and the knuckle heated up and it would have slipped right in. But honestly, guys, I don't want to do that, my friend. I don't want to do that. This works. This works fine too. All right, we are cinched. Now we're gonna put the. I'm going to put this torque adapter to work at 221 foot-pounds. If you end up using this, though, I'll remind you that make sure that you have it on peak and not on trace. Otherwise, it's not going to give you that beeping sound. Oh, that's a 341.5. I'm going to give that beeping sound when it tells you you're at the. Oh shoot! I'm going up. Supposed to be going down. Almost there, buddy. Almost there. What do we set to 21? There it is. 220.5, 221.03. Okay. This is in place. I will say there's pros and cons to having a big torque wrench versus this breaker bar, because I mean, even though it has greater capabilities. Okay. Again, we're at 221, but guess what? It wasn't on trace. It's okay. I saw the torque, so I'm not worried. Why is it not? It's on trace. It needs to be on peak. Here it is. Come on. To 20.9, that's fine. That's good enough for me. All right. We can now that we know that the bottom is done, let's go ahead and take care of the top. All right. As much as I wanted to believe that doing it different from the left side, the right side was gonna be more efficient, I cannot get away from the fact that I have to remove these bolts here, and for this lower control arm to pivot this way, so that the shock comes down enough to clear for the bolts to come up for the upper control arm slash ball joint. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to remove the two lower 21 millimeter bolts. So let's go ahead and do that then. It's unfortunate. I mean, that's how I did it on the other side, and I was hoping that by loosening these up and lowering it would have been enough, but it is not enough, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and remove these bolts then, and that's just the way it is. That is just the way it is. All right, so this time, what we're gonna do instead is we're gonna use we're gonna use the big board here, make things a little bit easier, at least for the front one anyway. If I can only find the sockets. That's how I feel like a messy mechanic. I got all these tools everywhere, but finding what I need is a different story. Where are you? Oh, here it is. And it was on a torque wrench because we torqued the lower ball joint with it. Okay. Let's get this baby done and over with. All right, the other side, unfortunately, I cannot fit a impact gun, so I'm gonna have to do it by hand. So, well, I need to be wasting time. Let's get on it. Try with the ratchet instead. Might go faster. Thing is that it'd be a lot more stable if I had a 21 millimeter short instead of a long. But unfortunately, I have the long socket instead. Now that the lower control arm bolts are disconnected right here, I know this thing is going to clear. There we go. It's coming down, coming down, coming down. I'm going. There we go. Will it lower more now? Oh yeah, it lowers more now. Look at that. Perfect. It's exactly where I needed it to be. Now we're cooking with oil. right, let's clean up this area with isopropyl alcohol and mark where the bolts come out. Okay, this is going to be the next key thing. What we're going to do is we're going to clean the surfaces with isopropyl alcohol, because we're going to mark exactly where these bolts are going to go at install. But before I do that, I got to know where they came from at removal, so that we can be as accurate as possible. Now, mind you, my surfaces here are pretty relatively rust-free. So if you don't have a clean surface, or it's very rusty, you got to figure something out. You need to mark how these bolts are going to go back, because I'm going to let you in on a little something. Wheel alignment shops, they're not going to be able to align these properly in terms of camber, because once this thing is all back together, there won't be any adequate reaching for it. So now I got a Sharpie. In this case, mine is gold here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark as best I can around the periphery of the bolt, so that when the time comes to put it all back together, this thing goes exactly back. Now this Sharpie, I'm not going to lie, it kind of sucks. Let me see. As long as I got a good... you see what I'm doing here. You get the point. Use whatever color you want to use. Make sure you mark this properly, and you mark it visible, so that you know exactly how this thing goes back together. And before you loosen it up, look at it with a mirror, so that you're happy. Not only you're happy, but you recognize the pattern, so that it's not, you can say, oh yeah, I see it. Don't just mark it and then take it off, and then you go take it off and you say, you have an oh shit moment, because now you can't see the marking of the Sharpie, or where the... Now, I just so happen to choose gold because I've been using black, but I can't find the black, and I just I went inside of the kitchen drawer, and I found this gold Sharpie, and I had an oh shit moment too, because I said, oh shit, this is gonna work. All right, so now this is nice and marked. I'm very happy with it. Now what we're gonna do, first put the lid back on the Sharpie, otherwise it dries up, and I don't want to hear my wife. She's gonna get upset. And then we're gonna inspect it and make sure that oh yeah, look at this. You can, this mirror is dirty, but this mark has to be adequate, suitable for what we're about to do. Now also, you see it? Look how beautiful that is. I don't know if you can see it, but that's well marked. I'll know exactly how that's going to go back. Also, when the time comes to remove this, make sure that you don't ruin the Sharpie with the rubbing of the bolts. So this is going to be an 18 millimeter. You're going to need two 18 millimeters. Let's move this caliper out of the way once again. I've been taking this thing on and off all day. I don't even know. Okay, now it's out of the way as best as possible. We can now remove these bolts. The way I did it is I use the breaker bar for the inside, and I use the wrench on the outside, like so. Now this thing is on there, guys. Mind you, the torque on this bolt is the likes of 80, 85, 88 foot-pounds, so it's going to be on there. And plus, you got to figure the time and the rust and all that, and however long it's been on. Because I can tell you one thing: This thing has never been taken off. Using a 2-wrench trick to loosen it up. There we go. Also, I'm going to show you. Jeez, come on. All right, this is loose. Make sure that bolt doesn't move and ruin the markings you made, otherwise you might not be able to see that. But we could loosen up the other one in the meantime. Same thing, we're going to use this breaker bar with an 18mm profile, or maybe in this case, being that the reach is even better, we can use a use a ratchet. 17, 16. Where's my 18? There it is, 18. I'm going to use a breaker bar with it. This one has got a better reach than. Look at that sucker's already spinning. Oh, it's on there. There we go. I gotta tell you that I am happy we're coming towards the end of this project. It's been the rear suspension is it's a bear compared to the front for two of the reasons. One, it's got this spring shot assembly that it's man, just getting this thing off is something else. And then you have the park brake that's doesn't help either. All right, buddy, you get the picture of how this is going to go down. I'm going to take you off the camera stand, so I don't know if you can see it. And I'm going to finish to take this apart and then introduce the new one. Okay, the last of it's coming off. There it is. All right, finally, we have done it. Now, go ahead and clean the contact surfaces inside where the ball joints go, but make sure you do not clean the marks you made for where the control arm goes back in. Get your new unit, and let's slap this baby in. Here it is. Here it is. Get the hardware for it. Now we are going to leave this loose because this is all going to get torqued at the very end with the bottom control arm to the frame, because you're going to have to load the suspension. And I'm going to tell you what that means when that time comes. So stay tuned for how this is going to unfold. Okay, now we can raise the suspension back in place and hook up the upper control arm / ball joint and the track rod and put these back where they belong. Okay, let's stay pause for a second here. All right, we're gonna start jacking up and mash this whole baby back together, how it all supposed to be assembled. Hopefully everything goes hunky-dory, so to speak. using this thing. Oh yeah, the dry shaft. Okay. Okay, this is in. Let's put the new nut in place. Okay, make sure you don't break anything. Be super careful, take your time. Okay, now we can lift the, oh, I see what happened here. It went out of alignment. Okay, now we can install this as well. Let me go ahead and shove these, shove this shock. Oh, look at that, it's not aligned properly. It's got to go in the holes, guys. In the holes that it belongs. Oh, see, this is what I mean when I say be careful of the studs of the shock, because this one just came out again too. Now we're gonna have to hammer it back in. I gotta tell you guys, never a dull moment with this job. This is what I mean. It popped out again. All right, stand by. Let me get the proper tooling, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I had replaced these shocks about a year ago with Bilstein units, and this is what happens. See, if you don't align the hole properly, it'll pop these studs out. So now we're going to have to pop it back in. So let me go ahead and do that. All right, the way you're going to do this is you're going to have to, once again, lower the suspension and drive these in. Now mind you, once you got the shock in place and you got the nuts on top, then it'll pull the shock in. But here, I'm going to move you out of the way a little bit. Put you right here. Now let's go ahead and can see anything. You have to be gentle. Boys again. There we go. We are in like Flint. What we could start doing in the meantime, actually put the hardware so that nothing falls out. Where are the 3 nuts for the shocks? I can at least set those nuts in place. So this way, if something happens, at least this is not. At least the nuts are the nuts are set. You know what I mean? I'm looking forward to getting a lift. I'm not gonna lie to you. Cause this working on the knees thing, it gets painful, especially at my seasoned and wisdomized. That's even a word. Age. There we go. Let me put the last one in. Oh, sorry, I'm in your way. See what I'm doing? I'm just putting the nuts back on the top of the strut assembly. So this way, just make sure you don't drop them. I already dropped them at the disassembly. All right. The nuts are started. Bam, boom, bam. Nice. What we could do next is actually put in these bolts right here. Let's see if maybe if we lower it, it makes it any easier. Actually, it does. You see it? I thought so. Sometimes, you know, things can be counterintuitive. If you can see it, yeah, you can see it. Where's the hole? I should have brought my centering pins, but I guess as the saying goes, if it was easy, everybody could do it, right? Come on, baby, I need you to take it like a champ. Sorry, this is the issue that I'm having. You see it? Just gotta line that hole right there. Shouldn't be too hard. The saying goes. All right, well, all right. You think you watched enough of the struggle? All right, I'm gonna put you on pause here. Let me go ahead and do this because I gotta get this jack out of my way. After much tribulation and struggle and a shitload of tools everywhere getting in my way, the job managed to put the pins in. Actually, you know how I did it? I'm gonna tell you. I know you didn't ask, I'm gonna tell you anyway. I ended up doing it by removing the jack. The jack was putting too much tension on the... I just need a wrench. The jack was putting too much tension on the... and low control arm, and it wasn't allowing me to... bolt is in. Wasn't allowing me to insert the... I gotta learn how to finish my sentences. Wasn't allowing me to insert the bolt through the holes. So that was the issue. Let's see if I could do it with the... I got this. Now, this job has taught me that I need a half-inch drive short sockets metric. That would definitely help. Because these longer sockets, the arm is too long. You could risk hurting yourself if the ratchet slips. See what I mean? Anyway, it started enough. Put this one in a little bit more. This is what I mean. You could knock yourself out. It literally just flew over my head. Oh man, be careful. See what I did? That's what you don't want. This is why you need short sockets sometimes, and not Now what I'm doing here, I'm not tightening this. I'm just gonna cinch it down for when the time comes to torque. We're not torquing this right now. Where did I go? Oh, I went way back there. Man, I'll tell you, being a mechanic sometimes it's dangerous. Alright, this one is cinched enough. Let's go ahead and cinch some more. This one right here. I'm happy though, it's coming back together finally. Been meaning to do this project for some time now. I'm sure it's going to make a difference the way it rides too. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to feeling the feel, you know, how this thing is gonna. Okay, this is cinched enough, not too tight though, because again, we gotta load the suspension for when the time comes before we. And I'm going to show you what I mean by loading the suspension. Okay, this is good enough. We can go ahead and tighten this upper ball joint here in the meantime, and tighten this tracking rod. You know what? Let's do that right now. The tracking rod is actually 22 millimeter. I can't even find my socket at this point. Alright. You'll see here, I don't know if you can see it. See it? The rubber is sticking out of its retaining ring. We're going to have to fix that eventually. Alright, let's go ahead. The torque for this is... where is it? Stab link rod, rear track rod. It's 41 foot-pounds. This one here is 41 foot-pounds. (41 foot-pounds). 22 millimeter. All right, that's torqued. Let's see if we can fix that actually right now. I'm going to show you how to do it. And these ring, you're going to have to use some dexterity here. Make sure you don't puncture a hole in your boot. You're going to pull it out with a pick, and you're going to tuck the boot back under the retaining ring, like so. See it? Just like that. I know. All right, so this is torqued. Now let's go ahead and cinch down this upper ball joint, and then we could lift up, load the suspension a little bit, and put these and tighten these 3 13 millimeter nuts. All right, guys, this is the final But what am I saying? This is the final stretch, my friend. This is the final stretch. So what we're gonna need is an 8mm wrench, because otherwise this is gonna spin on you, and a 19mm wrench, like so. And we're just gonna do this. This is gonna be a bit of a time-consuming task, so I'm not gonna bore you with it because this is gonna be it's gonna take a minute. So I'm gonna take you off I'm gonna give you a break from watching me cinching nuts and bolts and while I do this. We managed to cinch down the nut for the upper ball joint, and it was actually an 18mm wrench, not a 19mm wrench. So now we can actually torque it. I should have put the wrench. Let me see. I'm gonna have to torque it from this side. Okay, I'm using a torque adapter here, and the torque is 37 foot-pounds at 90 degrees with the adapter. This is how I'm doing it. See it? I get the torque wrench like this with this beveled upwards so that I can do it from back here. Here it is. It's 37 foot-pounds. We're at spec. Okay. Now what we can do, because this is torqued, lower ball joint. This is torqued, and so is the nut on top of here. That's also torqued. What I want to do is now raise the suspension a little bit and cinch down these 13mm nuts and torque them as well. So let's do that. I'm going to have to move all this out of the way and put the jack under the suspension again and put a little bit of load on the strut on top. All right, so what I'm doing here is actually going to lift up the suspension a little bit. There it is, just so that the strut bottoms out on the frame here before I cinch the nuts down. Otherwise, it creates a drag torque on the nuts, and it gives me a false reading since the torque for these nuts is only 180 inch-pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and cinch them down first with the wrenches, such as these two right here. And then we're gonna worry about torquing them. Last time I had to torque these, I did it from the inside of the landing gear. Yeah, landing gear, sorry. It's the aviation in me kicking in. I had to do it from the spare tire well. I'm just gonna go ahead and cinch these down in the meantime. I don't even know if you can see it. Here, I'm way up here, you see it? So far I can stick my hand in there still. We could put this grommet back on too. This is the grommet that I took out. There it is. I tell you, I'm glad I have this 13mm ratchet wrench. Otherwise, life would probably be difficult for this particular job. There it is, like so. Can you see? You can see. Get yourself some thick gloves because your hands are going to be rubbing hard. If you start wearing some latex while you're doing this, you're going to be changing latex gloves all the time. The middle outboard stud that I'm cinching down right now, this one was the one that I had to punch in from the bottom. Remember I told you, be careful when you push up the strut because you might end up punching out the, come on. End up punching out the, now the wrench doesn't want to come out. There we go. All right, let's cinch down the last one. Let's see if I can reach it. This job has been on my mind, like I said, for quite some time. And the reason probably why I procrastinated so much, well, during the summertime, obviously, I'm going to do what's seasonal, right? Air conditioning stuff and things that in my wife's car, suddenly I needed all kinds of work here and there. But this is something that I wanted to handle before the winter came because otherwise it gets too cold. And this is, I believe, probably the last, for the time being, the last of the big jobs on this car. Oh, shoot, I thought I just dropped the retro wrench in between the frame and where the strut mounts to. So take your time when you do this thing, otherwise you might end up losing the tools in the process. Now, mind you, I said you take your time. You got to be careful though at the same time. All right, they're cinched. All right, let's worry about torquing them now. We can actually unload the jack from the suspension. This is no longer needed for the time being because all it does is be in the way. Okay. All right, let's see if I can make this as visible as possible for you. You can reach the torques from back here. You see it? The aft inboard one, 180 inch-pounds. Here it is. I can't get to the other ones. I'm gonna have to change the head. Right now I have a 1/4 inch drive extension with a 1/4 inch drive 13 millimeter. I'm gonna switch to, where is it? Ouch. I'm switching to a, hopefully this will do it. This is a 1/4 inch drive to a 3/8 drive, 13 millimeter 12 point, and it gives me a shorter reach and a shallower reach to do the aft one, hopefully. Now mind you, last time I did this, did it with my Williams torque wrench, and that torque wrench had has a swivel head. Unfortunately, that one, it's what do I advocate all the time? Get your stuff calibrated, right? Well, guess what? That one is out for calibration. All right, this is the forward one. Okay, forward is also torqued. It's looking like this back one is proving rather difficult. Let me see if I can reach it maybe from another angle. Let me see. Stay right there, don't move. Well, this is the, like again, this is a fixed unfortunately, I can't get to this one. Son of a bitch. Hold on. Do I have a 13 millimeter Crowfoot? Let me see, what do I have here? Hold on. All right, I think I found the solution. I have a 13 millimeter crowfoot 3/8 drive with a 1/4 to a 3/8 drive adapter. I'm gonna go in from the top. I just tried it before I turned the camera on. It looks like I could do it. So I guess even with a fixed, wrong one. Even with a fixed torque wrench, fixed head, without the swivel, we can get our torques done. Come on, baby, go in. You went in there. There it is. And there it is. We got it. There we go. Hallelujah. We got it done. So now we got our 180 inch-pounds or 15 foot-pound done from the top. And I just found out you could do it with a fixed torque wrench as well. All right. So the top strut is also done. Now let's move on to, well, let's take a look. All right, next order of business before I forget, I'm going to put the cap back on for the bolts of the upper strut. Not that I would forget, because eventually I'm going to find this cup. And then I'll be dropping F-bombs because I put everything back, but except this cup. All right, that's back in place. What we have left to do is torque these bolts back here for the lower control arm to the frame, upper control arm to the frame, and let's go ahead and do that. But what we need to do before we torque that, we need to load the suspension, and I'm going to show you what I mean when I say that, because you don't want to torque this while the suspension is drooped or hanging down. Otherwise, we'll put undue strain on these bushings here. This is why you want to torque this one and these ones here when the suspension is neutral or when the car is weight on wheels. All right, so let's go ahead and load the suspension first, and we will torque the control arms bolts to the frame. We're going to put the jack under not the frame this time, but we're going to put it under the ball joint where the lever of the arm is greater. And we're going to load the suspension this way until the car is just about ready to come off the jack stands. When the suspension is about neutral, like so, now we can torque the bottom bolts. Be careful because the car is off the jack stands, okay? Now, the torque on these is 100 foot-pounds at the nut. Rule of thumb is if you're torquing the head of the bolt instead of the nut, you add 10%. So we're going to make it to 110 foot-pounds at the bolts. All right, here we go. It's probably somewhat loose. This is what I mean when that kid. Yeah, 110 foot-pounds is a lot more than I thought. Yeah, we're at 110 foot-pounds. Come on, baby, click. There it is. Yes. All right, now let's go ahead and do the backs as well. Where are you? There it is. I'm going to cinch this down with the ratchet first. So I don't waste too much time. Okay, it's cinched. Now we can put some torque on it. Here we go. 110 foot-pounds accomplished on the bottom. Okay, now torque the upper control arm. We're gonna have to put it in position first. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cinch these bolts so that they don't move anymore. Same thing as what we did. Oh man, it doesn't fit. Damn it. Does the ratchet fit on this side? The ratchet does fit on this side. Alright, so we're gonna have to do with the wrench on the other side. Whoops. I'm trying to give you guys some lighting so you can see what's going on. There we go. Alright, so we're gonna hold we're just gonna cinch these bolts right now. That's all we're doing right now. Now remember those golden marks we made in the beginning when we took the control arm off? Yeah, we're gonna align at the head of these bolts with those marks. Well, sometimes there it is. Okay, the bolts are cinched. Looks like this one needs to go in a tad. Right about there. Let's take a look with the mirror. Make sure that they're aligned enough. I have to go up a little bit. There you go. It does need to come out just a tab. We're going to do that with a crowbar. Oh no, sorry, it has to go in. That's right, the mirror gives me the opposite image. We are looking pretty close. This is it. Okay. Looks good. We're going to tighten this one down without moving the head of the bolt. Make sure we're still good. And we are not. This needs to go forward more. Okay, let's loosen it up again. Well, you get the gist of the game here, guys. This is what you do. This is what you do, and this is how you do it. All right, after much finagling with mallets and the crowbars, we are ready to torque this baby down. It's aligned. Yeah, let me show you. I don't know if you can see it. I'm happy with it. We are pretty much exactly where it was when we first started. Can you see it? It's yeah, it's about right there. You see it? All right, so now the torque on this is 89 foot-pounds. There it is. There you go. 89 foot-pounds in the front end is done. Now we got to do the back end. The back end, unfortunately, we cannot fit the ratchet. Well, maybe I could put a whatchamacallit, probably have a 18-inch, 18 inch. I have an 18 millimeter quilt foot. There you go. At 90 degrees. That should do it. Let me show you. And I'll post a link in the description about how to torque a hardware with adapters. Here we go. 89 foot-pounds with the quilt foot at 90 degrees. Okay, we can now unload the suspension and put the car back on the jacks like so. Nice and easy. Just like that. All right, now what do we have left? We still have to put the rotor drum back on. We could do that right now, put the rotor back on and put the caliper back on. So how about we do that? Let's do that. Rotor, let's put it back, let's put the rotor back on. There's going to be some rigging involved in terms of for the park brake, so make sure that's nice and snug. There's a countersunk screw. That's for the screw. Where is it? Right here, for the whole of the. All right, I'm gonna have to shrink. I'm gonna have to adjust this right now. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm shrinking the rod so that it shrinks the shoes of the park brake so that I can slide this rotor on. There we go. This should be like this. Now there should be no problems. There it is. It's going on. And the hole for it is right here. Put the screw back on. It's a size 5. Okay. This is back on. We can now also put the rotor back, not the rotor, the caliper back on. Whew, what a day, guys, let me tell you. It's been a long, this job has been a long time coming, and it's been a long 2 days getting this job done. Okay, this should slide, should. There you go. Caliper is going on. And bolts for the caliper. Well, let me relocate you so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, rotor, why do I keep calling the rotor when this is the caliper? Okay, put this caliper back on. These are the bolts for it that I cannot get in. There it is. I think I got it this time. There it is, it's going in. Now, mind you, we still have to set the park brake on both sides, but for the time being, all right, caliper is on. The torque on the caliper is, let me see, where is it? 85 foot-pounds. 85 foot-pounds. Okay, 1. There you go. And 2 is done. Caliper is on. We can now install the brackets for the what do you call it? The wheel speed sensor and the just the harness for the wheel speed sensor and the whatever else mounts on there. And there are 2. One is a 10mm bolt. It's right back here. I don't know if you guys can see it. Maybe here, let me relocate you so you can see better. There we go. The 10mm bolt goes up here. And the E10 goes down here for the, and I think the torque, and this is 60 inch-pounds if I'm not mistaken, to 9 Newton meters. There it is, 60 inch-pounds. And then let's get the 10mm on it now. Again, the quest of finding the, there it is, the tools. Okay, that's also torqued. Okay, now, you know what we need to torque? That needs to get torquing is this right here. See? This big boy right here needs to get torqued. So how about we handle that right now? What I'm gonna do first is actually just bring it in with the ratchet. And just put a couple of these in. All right, there we go. Where's that breaker bar? Here it is, right here. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna put this baby like so. And now we can cinch this. All right, it looks like the drive shaft is to abutment, and now we can torque it. And the torque on this is 361.4 foot-pounds. Let me set up big boy and I'll bring you back online. All right, we are ready. Torque is set to 361.4. Let me get the big boy. All right, 200. 300, 330, 340. Here it is. We are there. Okay. This one is also torqued. Now we can install the stabilizer bar link rod. As I was saying, next item on the list, and one of the final ones, is the rear stabilizer bar link rod. There's a certain, obviously, there's a certain The way this thing is stacked. All right. This baby through. Put this one on top. I believe the torque on this is at 21 foot-pounds. There it is, 21 foot-pounds. Okay, a double lock. All right, this is good to go. All right, we are done. Now what you want to do is what I always recommend you do, start touching what you torqued and make sure that everything got torqued. We'll start from up here. These two got torqued. This one I'm a little leery about, but hopefully it'll be okay. There's a cup and the three 13mm nuts. I never touched the, I never touched the bottom of the strut. Tracking rod is torqued. These ones are also torqued, 110 foot-pounds. This is torqued, this is torqued. The harness is torqued, caliper is torqued. Okay. Main wheel drive shaft is torqued. Bottom bolt joint is also torqued. Now what we have left to do is put this liner back in on both sides and set these park brakes. Well, let's set these park brakes now so that this thing is done too, so you have an idea how this is done, because this is a good time to do it. When the wheel is off is when you want to set the park brake. It would help if I had my headlamp on so that I can see what I'm doing. And like this, yeah. And you just rotate the wheel in here. And all you're doing, you're increasing the length of the micrometric rod so that you make the park brake a little stiffer. I'm just using the small flathead screwdriver going through one of the holes of the lug nuts. That should be pretty good right here. I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, maybe bring it back a little bit. A little more. There we go. Maybe that's too much. One back. All right, this is good. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Let's install this liner here real quick. This, kind of give it a little arching to it, and you just shove it in like so. I just got to put it in the holes now. I overshot it. It's in, that's in, that's in. There you go. And that's how it goes in. Now you put your 10 millimeter nuts. If I could just find that. Here it is. The screwdriver that I use. That's all there's left to do is put the spare tire back on, right? I made a video about all of that pertains to the spare tire. So I guess I'll link that to the description as well. Now once this is done, all there's left to do is put the tire back on. That's torqued to 110 foot-pounds. And then it's bring the car down, make sure that the right height looks good, and you take it for a spin. And maybe if you feel good about the work you did, go wash the car too. I usually do that. Although right now it's too late. It's Sunday. The sun is going down. And that's it, guys. This is what it looks like. I think it looks fantastic. Came up pretty good. Look at this. Didn't it come up pretty good? It looks amazing, if you ask me. All right, so I'll put the wheel back on, 110 foot-pounds, and the job is done. My friend, I hope this video was of help to you. If it was of a help to you and you like what you see, give it a thumbs up, smash that like button, and consider subscribing. It'll help me help you grow this channel and provide more content, and I will see you at the next one. Take care. Have a good one.